Privyet, it's Influx, and welcome back to level 25. This week, I'm joined by Floyd. Floyd, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you. Congratulations on your recent victory in the Dr. Mario Monthly.
Oh, thank you. It
So,
was kind of tough.
yeah, I mean, the margins are getting thinner and thinner, I think, for the competition.
I think there may be some people that point out I rode to the end, didn't have to go through Frank or Dimwit or Packy. But I mean, definitely it was. I feel it's hard to fight against Sarah and watch them both.
Yeah, Sarah took you to 5 games in the end there, didn't she?
Yeah, it was back and forth, and then I think I probably got a on that last one. I mean, I think at this point, if you set a record for any of these level ranges, you probably benefited from a good seed.
Yeah. So, you're new to the podcast as a guest. You've helped immensely along the way, uploading the podcast each week, which I appreciate. What are some of the other things that you do in this community?
Um, I do help out JB with verifying qualifiers each month. The Dave helps out with that. John Nash, some other people. I think JB used to do that exclusively himself, but I think that was pretty time consuming for him.
Hmm.
So I was glad to help out with that. DM Hero is the one who created the monthly DRMC monthly website that has all the stats and results, and I've helped out some with. I populated the old data, from the old spreadsheet that we used to use last year, and then I've helped program some of that functionality too.
I feel like there are a lot of people, like you mentioned, who do work behind the scenes, and you being one of them, I just wanted to call that out and thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So you already mentioned that this month, one of the factors that may have benefited you is that Frank ran into some issues with his streaming equipment and was unable to compete. What that meant was that Chris Bidwell faced Sarah in the semifinals, and Sarah managed to get the best of him and meet you in the finals. Do you think that you would have taken Frank down?
Um, I I don't know. I think I had a chance. I can't say that I would have. I think he probably had the upper hand, and no one would probably be surprised by that. Um, what I do each month when I'm once the bracket is locked, I kind of like figure out who I might expect to play at each round,
Mm-hmm.
assuming I make it that far. And my assumption was if I made it to the finals, thought that I may make it to Frank at the end. Um, so what I do is I look at their past couple of months. So Frank has some finals data. So I looked at the past two finals that he made. I look at his times, and then when I practice, I see what percentage of my times would be his times, and kind of get a rough idea how I would fare. Um, I spent, a week preparing to play him if I were to make it that far. And then Sarah made it in. She made the finals last year, but can't really compare data because everyone's gotten so much better.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw her play Bidwell, I mean, she put up some great time. So I knew that it was gonna be tough.
Yeah, I feel like it's tough to say how the matchup versus Frank would have gone. Frank has been undefeated. Um, the crown over the past half a year or so has been trading between you, Dimwit, and Frank. What do you think are some of the contributing factors that help determine the victor month to month?
Um, I mean, obviously people are getting better. Like when I joined last year in the fall, it was kind of like, I mean, most months it was went Packy in the finals, and it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of a foregone conclusion. Except, there would be some months where they would end up on the same side of the bracket. So, obviously one would have to get eliminated for the finals, and then some per person would have to play Dimwit and Packy.
Yeah.
Dimwit or Packy in the finals and would have a pretty rough time because those two were just, I would say, quite a bit better skill wise than the rest. I think that's changed a bit. I mean, we've seen what's lost in the first round. I mean, you beat him in the semis. I came close to beating him in the semis. It's not easy for anyone really to get even the first couple of rounds to be tough against anybody. So I think we're, to the point where there are more people, even other than myself, Frank, Dimwit, Packy. I mean, there are other people that I think are capable of winning
Yeah.
at this point. So definitely it's the skill that is kind of equalized. That's a factor. And there is some RNG at play. We do, as you know, we play unseeded races. So two players are getting completely different setups and pills. So, there's pros and cons to that. I mean, if you have two evenly matched players, RNG could definitely contribute to who wins that. If you have someone that's quite a bit better than the other, then RNG can either equalize things or it can make the difference even larger.
Yeah. So we talk about the RNG, and for the uninitiated, RNG is basically just our way of referring to the randomness of Dr. Mario. There are a couple huge sources of RNG that create the puzzle that Dr. Mario is. You've got the viruses and the pills. Viruses can spawn in a way that's beneficial, that helps you solve them very quickly if they're grouped together in doubles, and especially if those doubles are vertically aligned. Some boards will just be easier to solve than others. But also in the pills that you are given to solve these boards, it doesn't matter how beautiful the board is. If you just don't get the pills that you need when you need them, it can be difficult there. I think that's part of the charm of the NES version in particular is this RNG. When you're playing a 0 to 20 run, you're hoping that over the course of the whole run, you're going to hit some good patches and some bad patches. With the Dr. Mario Monthly, the speed brackets, you're playing a shorter level spread, which I think that gives more potential for the RNG to provide a swing in either direction. Less time to recover from bad RNG at least.
Yeah, definitely. I just know that I'm not as fast as compared to others at like 6 through 9, and then especially 8 through 11 for whatever reason. Not my thing. I don't know. It could be just the kind of composition of viruses at those levels. And I feel like I'm better at the later rounds. If I fortunate enough to make it to the semis and finals, I feel like those are my favorite levels to play. So, like the RNG you mentioned, I do think it's a greater factor at those earlier levels,
Mm-hmm.
and plus I think I'm not as strong for whatever reason.
Yeah. So, with the RNG, do you think that it's about equally unfair? Maybe not, over the course of a 3-game match, but month to month. Do you think that the RNG poses a problem to the competition, and would you want to see everyone playing with the same seeds?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. I mean, in the long run, it's not going to matter. Um, you know, obviously, if you play infinite games, you're gonna know who the better players are. But we don't have infinite games, so in a given month, some people are gonna benefit and some people are not. But over the course of a year, the kind of see the patterns. Like last year, it's very apparent that Dimwit was. I don't think many people would argue that last year Dimwit was the best player. And Packy was really second best. You could argue they were evenly matched. I don't want to put Packy down. I'm just would say by looking at the results, you could come to that conclusion. Say that. I think everyone would say Dimwit and Packy were far and away the best last year. You could still say that this year. Make an argument for Frank. He has not lost a match.
Yeah.
You could also say maybe it's too soon to say he hasn't played. Maybe you could say he hasn't played enough tournaments to come to that. But over time, you see these patterns, and I've been there. I've had months where I think maybe could have done better if I got a better level, or I just didn't play well, or I got nervous, or whatever. But if we had seeded tournaments, it could be less fun to watch for casual spectator. Might see the same people consistently winning every month. That might be less fun to watch. I guess if you're a serious competitor and all you cared about was how often you won and you thought you were the best, yeah, maybe you would want seeded. And then there's people kind of in between. I'd say those spots, and that would probably be me. I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with the tournament, but definitely RNG is a factor. I think the biggest thing is with someone watching casually. If you could have two evenly matched players and one could beat the other by a minute, even in the early levels, and to someone watching, they'd be like, "Oh, well, this player is much better than that player." But we know from doing the weekly checkup, Packy is very, very consistent. You can see some seeds 0 to 10. I've seen him often get under 13 minutes. If we get a really bad seed, it could be around 15.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a pretty good indication of how varied the seeds are. And there's roughly half as many viruses in a 6 through 9 run as 0 to 10. To me, that means two players, there could be about a minute difference.
Yeah. And you were talking about if we played all the same seeds, it could just mean that the same people are rising to the top. The statistics would, whoever's higher on the leaderboard would more consistently take the victory. I wonder if there's room for that when we're talking about the silver bracket, where players have a chance to still compete even if they aren't in the top 16. I wonder if that opens up for there to be a more competitive format for the gold bracket. On the other hand, it is very discouraging to go into a match knowing that you have a level playing field with someone who might be drastically better than you. If I'm facing Frank,
Right.
I want the hope that he could be getting a bad seed and I could get just a ridiculously good one.
Right. There is that appeal. I mean, there is that kind of thought that if you're close enough in ability to someone, you have a chance. I mean, whereas if someone's, you don't even have to be significantly better. Even if they're just know they're better, maybe not a lot better, it's going to be tough to beat them in 3 or 5 games.
Yeah. I think of it like if you could rate each board on a scale of 1 to 10 of how good it is based on, the pills that come and the viruses that spawn, then you put yourself in a competitive range against someone else. So if you're getting a board that's a 7 through a 10 that you would rate it, then you could stack up against someone else's, entire range of board. If you get if you get a 10 board, for sure that you're taking the match over someone else.
There's not much the other player can do when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that every once in a while things happen top outs, just console errors and stuff that can shake up.
Example.
Yeah. I did have my fair share of console errors in this last month, although that didn't end up being the reason why I lost to Watchma. Watchma's just a very good player. Also, side note, Poor Watchma. He faced Dimwit round 1, me round 2, you round 3, and he would have had to face Sarah Sparkle, or Bidwell, or Frank in the finals, and I think none of those are a free win for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that was a tough bracket.
Watchma just
Uh,
had a horrible path to the top, and I think that he is perhaps one of the underrated players this year. I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if we see him
he's
go a bit farther in the December bracket.
yeah, he's really good. Like I mean, he consistently makes semifinal almost every month. And, he just hasn't got over the hump. Like I didn't until very recently. And earlier this year, I was struggling just to get to the my just it's just the way it's just the way it went. Um, like speaking of RNG, sometimes you'll play. Let's say you play 3 games against someone and you lose. If you start looking at the times, you realize, oh, if these games were played in a different order, I would have won.
Yeah.
Like what you want, if you have a horrible game, what you actually want is your opponent to have a great game. Is you're going to lose that one, so that be your bad one.
Yeah.
What you don't want is to lose by a second.
I think that I am a in the camp that is in favor of the uneven RNG. I think that we have a vocal selection of players who are unhappy with the randomness and how that can affect results in the speed brackets in particular. But I mean, we also have a lot of players who just kind of love to hate the game. I think that's pretty common in speed running. Is Dr. Mario is the worst game ever because it's the game I'm playing, and you enjoy to make fun of it. But
Yeah, and I think if you just kind of, a lot of us can, including me, can be very competitive. As long as you just realize, take the tournament for what it is. There is RNG at play. It's part of the game. It just means like when you win, don't pat yourself on the back too hard. And when you lose, don't take it too hard because some of it is, there's a little bit of randomness there that is at play. There is I mean, if you really want to beat yourself up though, you heard of the tool called Granivore?
yes, I have. I've seen some Granivore posted in the Discord.
Right.
That's when you
So
see
like,
the whole board of viruses, and it tells you all the pills that will spawn. Yeah.
right. So you can go back and figure out what seed you're playing or your opponent was playing, and you know, like sometimes like someone will get an amazing time on, maybe someone will post a PB, or maybe they got a hot time in a tournament. Fun, you can go play that seed if you use the seeded ROM, and you can see how you would have fared. Like it's kind of, you know, you don't have seeded tournaments, but it gives you a way to just kind of see how you stack up, and obviously the weekly checkup, that's a pretty big block of time every week that you can do that as well.
Yeah, I really do enjoy playing the seeded weekly checkup, and competing on that level playing field. Um, it it does seem weird that the level playing field is in the casual weekly competition,
Hmm.
and the one that gives you points is the one that introduces more tumultuous RNG.
Yeah,
But
and it's amazing how kind of consistent the result.
yeah,
Even with two people playing the same seeds, there are just certain seeds that kind of lend themselves to different players' play styles.
yeah,
Like sometimes there'll be a seed that I find difficult for whatever reason. It'll like those are the ones where like Dave Smith or like Sarah will get first. I mean, for whatever reason, I think just because their style of play, are able to just get through it faster. It's just because I'm more of I will play fairly straightforward. So maybe there's certain situations that kind of trip me up where they find ways around it.
I also have a completely unfounded theory that people's eyes are drawn to different parts of the board naturally. So maybe there
Hmm.
are parts of the board that you tend to focus more on, and certain seeds might have more, you know, those areas that you tend to drift towards might be the more complicated ones that demand more attention.
Yeah, yeah, that could be.
But at any rate, I wonder from a spectator perspective which would be more interesting, because you mentioned that the results might become a little more uh, predictable if we play on same seeds in the speed brackets. But it would also be very interesting to see how two different players handle the same board, and it could be very educational, especially from a commentary perspective, where all of that
Yeah,
time where we're not talking about the RNG and the disparity there.
right.
um,
Right. You could differentiate between how the two different players like handled the same mission, especially at the beginning of the level, right?
yeah.
As the level goes on, it'll start to diverge a little bit, but yeah, I mean, to me, it's just I can see the allure of having seated pieces. It just seems more satisfying. Like, these two people, they're given the exact same setup, and let's see who comes out ahead.
Yeah. On the other hand, though, going back, if it's a lot more predictable who's going to win these round one matchups, which it isn't necessarily a given anymore. I mean,
No, no, that's not a yeah. I think the ability is so much so close that like it's possible that it's not like the same person winning every month. That may not be the case. That's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of what I would guess would happen, at least to some extent, but that may not necessarily bear out.
yeah. But I wonder if just the matchups start to get stale if the semifinals and the finals tend to be the same two, three, or four players.
Right.
If from a viewing experience, it's always fun to have a surprise Sarah Sparkle in the finals, and everyone gets super hyped for that. But if it's just like you and Frank trading blows every month in 2022, then
The other thing is a lot of the newcomers it sometimes like they're good enough to make the top 16, make the bracket, but sometimes takes them a while just to get that first win. And maybe if you go seeded, like, that makes it even more daunting. Like it might, I don't know, it might be too much of a competitive vibe. We're doing the silver bracket thing, like trying to make things more friendly, like more people involved. So I
yeah,
don't know. Maybe that's not what we want to do. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not like pushing for either way. I think there are merits to both. There's also reasons, practical reasons that we haven't done it. People brought up like realities of streaming us playing a modified version of
yeah,
Nintendo product. If people, we don't want to discourage people from playing on original hardware, and not everyone has the cartridge. There's practical reasons why it hasn't been done. Also,
one last thing I'll say about a same seated competition is that your placement in the bracket becomes a lot more important than because where the most randomness will be is in your 30-minute qualifier, and the type of
right?
RNG you get there. So, you know, Dimwit or you might have a bad month and end up being 13th. And then
Right.
I wouldn't want to be mirror that in the top of the bracket. And
Right. With that 30-minute qualifier format, yeah, you can't really do away with the randomness there because you can't give out a seed for everyone to do because everyone qualifies over a 2-week period. So
yeah,
obviously, you know what would happen with that.
yeah. I'm not qualifying first. I'm gonna see what I'm up against.
And also practice the seed.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you know, so then it becomes a different category.
For sure. But honestly, whichever way it shakes up, if they do end up making same seeds the norm in the future, or if we just continue the way we have been with this sort of comfortable, familiar randomness, I think that the speed bracket has a lot to offer and has obviously been drawing a lot of new eyes to the community. And especially with this silver bracket, I think new players are getting hyped to compete.
Yes, I mean I started October last year was the first time I played in it, and I believe November was the last month that did not have a full bracket. So
Wow.
ever since then, we've had no shortage of people wanting to play. So that's nice to see. Obviously, we have overflow. We have more than enough people. We have enough to justify having a silver bracket. So some other people get a chance to compete and get better, and um, have an audience.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it before how a 17 used to be a novelty for your 30-minute qualifier, but we had I think about 10 people with
Yeah, the last
17s.
couple of months, I think we've had around 10. Yeah.
Yeah, so it could even be not in the not too distant future that you need to get to level 17 to qualify for the gold bracket. That'll come with new players growing in skill and current players being, pushed to their limits, but it's there.
Yeah, I haven't meant to check. We may have had 16 different people that have actually made it to 17. I can't say for sure, but like if we're not there already, we may be to the point where if everyone was able to qualify 1 month, I think we have enough people that have made it to 17 or are capable. I mean, even with all the people make it to 17, I think this month we had like people that were very, very close to 17 as well. So
Yeah.
we're getting there. I don't think 18 will ever be kind of ho hum. I mean, that's what I think. I think if we do get to that point, I don't know if I'll be competing anymore.
You say that
When
as
we're
a member of the 18 club. Hey, the two of us are 2/3 of the 18 club here.
yeah. I mean, Frank did it like it was 2 for 2. His two was playing, and
Yeah, I
it was like, yeah,
Frank is ridiculously consistent over the 30-minute qualifying period. He seems disappointed when he gets a mid or low 17.
yeah. He is, and as I said, Packy very consistent. Like when you play with him in the weekly checkup, it's just like it's very, very, very fortunate when you beat because he's just his times are just so. I mean, I've already mentioned the RNG randomness from seed to
Yeah.
seed, but overlooking that, like I would say his margin over the rest of us and just winning like basically every game we play, it's pretty astounding. Part of it is I think a lot of people. I'm competitive even at checkup, but some people are there having fun, so maybe they're not going to be as consistent as if they were really concentrating hard.
Yeah.
It is a fun way to spend a Thursday night.
And that's a great plug for the weekly checkup. If you're not already involved, it's something that's run through the Discord, which I'm sure will provide a link to. But it's a great way to get to know each other, at least by voice, if not by face. Well, thanks so much for joining me this week, Floyd. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I was wondering how many people you had to have on before I would feel personally offended that I was invited. But no, I was glad to make it.
Well, I was scraping the bottom of the barrel here, and here you are. So,
Exactly.
And as always, thank you at home for listening in. Until next week, in Dr. Mario and in life, bless RNG.